What's up, guys? Back again with another video. This time we're going to be previewing this weekend's football, Premier League to be specific. Hopefully you guys are looking forward to it, and we're going to be focusing on the Arsenal game. A separate video covering the rest of the fixtures in a little bit of detail, but we're going to be focusing on the Arsenal game. Arsenal's always going to be a focus of this channel, obviously, and this time we're going up against Southampton, a team who struggled. There's no denying that. We'll take a look at the table before we go into the preview. Arsenal are currently sitting third after their kind of last minute heroics against the Leicester team, which at one time looked down and out and found their way back into the game. And for a Southampton team who in their last game lost 3-1 to Bournemouth, and for a Southampton team who are 19th, a team that's conceded already 12 goals in the league, on average 2 goals a game. Yeah, it's not looking good in this fixture, to be honest with you. They're the lowest scorers in the Premier League as well, 3 goals, so scoring 1 goal every other game on average. And yeah, this is a Southampton team that made their way into the Premier League by playing really, really good football, and under a manager like Russell Martin, who has an ethos and a way he wants to play. He did it when he was managing Swansea, and he's doing it here with Southampton. For the Southampton team, I'm going to be really, really honest. I don't think they ever had the quality in terms of name value or just individual players to actually stay in the league. That's always been my opinion, and that's what I did when I previewed the season. I think Russell Martin is actually a really good manager, and I like how he sets his teams up. But there's a level of quality that's required, and very, very few teams make it through the Premier League without that quality. For Southampton, again, we're going to cover a number of different elements for them, but yeah, they're struggling to keep goals out, they're struggling to score, and it's going to be a major problem for them. Arsenal, on the other hand, have had a difficult period, losing Martin Odegaard, the game without Declan Rice, who got the red card, a game with Leandro Trossard, who got a red card, and they still managed to perform and get some really good results. So beating Spurs, draw against Man City, beating Leicester, for example, beating PSG in their most recent Champions League fixture. And so, yeah, a lot of things going in Arsenal's direction, less so from a Southampton perspective. Cover Southampton very briefly, and I'll save a special place for Aaron Ramsdale, obviously, from Arsenal number one. For Southampton, don't think they've had the quality in defence. Bednarak and Harwood Bells. Harwood Bells, obviously, one of the younger English centre-backs, someone who came up from Man City, someone who I think has a lot of quality and potential. Bednarak, less so, not to criticise him, but I just don't think that's the partner I would pair a young centre-back with. I would look to get a real stalwart in that position. Aguara and Taylor, nothing really too special to write home about. Aguara, I think, has shown a lot more quality and has scored in Southampton's one of Southampton's most recent games as well, and so he's got the quality, but I think it comes a lot higher up the pitch for Southampton. Tyler Diblin, who's showed a lot of quality when I watched Southampton versus Man United, was a constant threat and actually won the penalty, which unfortunately they missed. Mateus Fernandes from Sporting, again, a really good player with potential, and they're going to hope that he can perform, and they're going to hope that he can perform for them. Cameron Archer as well and Adam Armstrong are 2 players in attack who should cause defences problems, at least be nuisances at the very minimum. But I just think they need overall a little bit more quality, a little bit more investment if staying in the Premier League was their goal. For Arsenal, there's going to be a couple of questions. Beating PSG, Jurriën Timber came off at half-time. What's going to happen there? We saw Calafiori move over to right back and Kivior slotting at left back. Could we see the same thing? I think that's what football is potentially predicting. I'm not so sure. Arteta said they could both, be available, Ben White or Timber. It's going to be interesting to see. I see him putting out as strong as a lineup as possible. So I really see Calafiori starting at left back, and White or Timber is fit, either of them being in the right back position. Timber did pull out of international duty, so it would be a surprise if he's not, if he is starting. But we'll wait and see. Thomas Partey and Declan Rice in the midfield. Thomas Partey was amazing against PSG, really, really good on the ball. Something that we missed last season was those line-breaking passes he delivers on a consistent basis. And there's been talk and discussion about Arsenal giving him a new deal, a new 2-year deal, which would be a surprise for many. This was ruled and deemed as being Thomas Partey's last season, but he's been one of Arsenal's most consistent players this season. He's been available. He's played every game. I wouldn't begrudge him, getting a new deal, but let's wait and see how he does. But from what Mikel Arteta said, he came back in absolutely amazing shape, and he's shown that with his consistency. Up top, Saka, Martinelli, Havertz, Trossard, 4 players who I think are consistently in flow, finding their own way of working, with Martin Odegaard being injured. I don't expect that to change too much. The biggest threats to the starting lineup, I would say, hopefully would be someone like a Wanyeri, someone like a Lewis Skelly, potentially coming in and bringing in a little bit of youth, a little bit of dynamism, giving them an opportunity against, yes, a weak opposition. Not to disrespect Southampton at all, because what we saw from the last game against Leicester, anybody can turn up, anybody can change a game around, and they have the players to do that. I just don't think consistently throughout a season it's enough to keep them up. So yeah, I think Kai Havertz been in amazing form. There's been some discussion about dropping him, bringing in Gabriel Jesus. Jesus has not been performing. It's not to the level that you expect. 4 Premier League goals all of last season. Hasn't scored fruit since January. I'm not saying exile him, but I expect the expectations that we had for Havertz when he joined to be placed on Gabriel Jesus, because apart from a good, 3-4 months that Gabriel Jesus had for us, he's not been very good, and that's a concern for me from an Arsenal perspective. We'll take a quick look at some of the injuries again. We mentioned Ewan Timber being doubtful, Ben White doubtful. And if that is the case, then Calafiori going right back isn't the worst in the world. There's been talk about Tomiyasu potentially coming back. Kieran Tierney, Zinchenko and Martin Odegaard are long-term injuries for Arsenal at the moment. From a Southampton side, Jack Stevens, who got his ban extended for some of the language he used as an official. Someone I've been waiting to see a little bit more of is William Smallbone, a player that I really like and saw a lot of in the Championship, and so if he can come in for Southampton, he can potentially give them a little bit of a spark in that midfield area. In terms of team form, we've covered it a little bit anyway, but we'll go over it. Arsenal running out as victors in their last 3 fixtures: Bolton, Leicester, Paris Saint-Germain, and then the 2 draws against Atalanta and Man City, which they would be very, very happy with. Southampton, on the other hand, 3-1 loss, which we've covered already. The draw against Ipswich, which is one of their new points that they've got in the Premier League at the moment. The draw against Everton, which was in the League Cup. And the loss is against Brentford and Man United, both away and home, respectively. We're going to just take a quick look at the head-to-head, because Arsenal have had a little bit of a tough time with Southampton as of recent. And if we look at the fixtures, you can see exactly that. The 3-3, the infamous 3-3 at home when Arsenal were chasing the Premier League. They were already in doubt, and we had the early minute goal, which was conceded by Ramsdale. And yeah, that set the tone for the rest of the season for Arsenal. That was the game where even the most hopeful Arsenal fans said, it's done now. We dropped 4 points that season against Southampton and 2 draws, which if Arsenal have those points, you could be looking at a Premier League winner. So I think there needs to be a little bit of conviction, a little bit of energy from the team to know that this team has cost us in the past, or our performances against this team have cost us in the past, and there needs to be an ability and a determination and energy to get the job done this time. Lastly, I'm going to cover Aaron Ramsdale, former Arsenal number 1, who lost his position to David Raya in the first title challenge that Arsenal had. I truly think he had some moments where he was absolutely brilliant, and he had some moments which were less than desirable. And in the transition from him to Raya, I think he tried his best to handle it, as well as someone can. But I think there were some moments where, he was fighting his corner, as you would expect anyone to do, but it didn't reflect well, in my opinion, in some of the circumstances. And I think Arsenal made the right decision. I thought about it and said and called for a change at goalkeeper when he was at, the height of his powers, and when every Arsenal fan loved him. I just think he didn't have the temperament which we needed. And I think Mikel Arteta, plus, being on ball, claiming crosses, all the great things that David Raya does, I think Aaron Ramsdale just doesn't do to the extent that Raya does. He was good for us. He surprised me even when he came into the team, and I think Southampton is a team that will, show him love, may showcase his best abilities, and I think he should do well there. But there has been some discussion from Southampton fans as well, and from Russell Martin, that he expects his goalkeepers to play out from the back, and sometimes Ramsdale hasn't looked as comfortable playing out of the back as you would expect, and that's probably one of the reasons again why Arsenal moved on. What I'm going to say is Arsenal should really be putting Southampton to the sword. 3, 4, 5 goals, if not more. And, this could be a funny game where Ramsdale pulls off a worldie and Arsenal struggles to find the back of the net. Or it could be a game where they slot 5, 6 past him, or somewhere in between. All we can do is wait and see. I think Arsenal are in good shape. Guys, what do you think? Make sure to leave your predictions, who you want to see starting, any surprises to the starting lineup, who should play right back if we have any injury concerns. I look forward to reading your comments and dropping some replies. I'll catch you guys soon. It's been EDA. Peace.